Hey guys, I thought I'd finish this semester in my garage, which I think is interesting. I wanted to be by my motorcycle, something real, something tangible. As we now finish this semester of studying graphic design and its history and how it's changed dramatically over the last 100 years, and especially how it's changed dramatically in just the last few years. One of the reasons why I like to ride so much is because it's real. And it's 100% analog at all times. And I don't have to stare at my phone or my computer or do anything that involves digital. Because graphic design, as you have learned over the past couple months, is interwoven with our society and our digital world. Graphic design is everywhere. It is the mouthpiece of capitalism. It is the voice, the visual voice of consumerism. And design affects all of our lives, whether we want to accept it or not. And this last section is about, hopefully, a chance for you to reflect and think about the state of design today, as well as how technology is changing our lives in a dramatic way. There's some different things that you can think about and touch base on. For instance, artificial intelligence and how it's affecting our lives, which I'll talk about here in a second. Self-driving technology, self-driving cars. They don't have thank goodness they don't have self-driving motorcycles, because that would be boring. How technology is affecting education and city planning and all kinds of things in our lives. This last bit is a chance for you to think about and reflect on. But I wanted to discuss a little bit about how graphic design has changed dramatically, especially in the last 2 years. My industry is becoming harder and harder for me to recognize. So one of the things, the reason why I bring this up is about 2 years ago, I came face to face with the realization of how graphic design has changed due to artificial intelligence. I was contracted by a client in Salt Lake to design a logo. They had seen some of my work and liked it and asked me to design a logo for their company. Now, I could get a sense from my client that this was going to be a bit of a challenging project, and so we agreed on that I was able to get half my fee up front before I got started. I could get a sense of where this client was going to go, and sure enough, my instincts were right. I put a lot of hours and a lot of time into multiple revisions of designing for this client. And I answered their questions and their concerns, I thought, 100%. After multiple revisions and some really good ideas, I thought. But the owner wasn't happy for whatever reason. She never really gave me a reason. And it reached a point where she says, I'm just going to have my daughter get on ChatGPT and see if they can solve this for me and make me happy. Now, as a designer, I had solved their problem. I had given them many, many strong solutions. That wasn't the problem. The problem was she wanted to play with it by herself and solve it by herself with AI. So as a designer, it became pretty clear to me that, oh my gosh, my world has changed as a designer. And sure enough, over the last 2 years, it has had a profound impact on graphic design. And that's one of the things I want you to reflect on now, as not only as students of the history of graphic design, but also how is artificial intelligence affecting your life? Has it affected someone you know and love? Have they lost their job? Has their career been affected by it? I was the last generation to be trained 100% analog as a graphic designer. In the 1980s, I was the last to do everything by hand. I was the first generation to learn Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, PageMaker, Quark, all the tools when they came out on these things called computers on the first Macs. So I saw it all. I saw the transition from analog to digital, and then I saw the transition from digital to this thing called the internet in the late 90s. And every step along the way, there was loud voices in my industry, in the graphic design industry, of pushing against that technology. That, for instance, computers aren't going to make graphic design better. Or when the internet came along, the internet's just a phase. It's not going to affect graphic design. I saw those voices and heard those voices very loudly from many of my colleagues. Well, you can see what happened. History is replete with those voices that have faded off into nothing. And now we're face to face with AI and how it's changing graphic design dramatically. And you have all tasted it and used it multiple times. I've used it multiple times. And as a designer, I'm learning just as fast as my students, how do I use this as a tool as a graphic designer? Because graphic design is not going to get replaced by AI. There'll always be a need for graphic designers. The problem is too many people think because they can bang out a logo in 5 seconds in ChatGPT or whatever, they think, I don't need a designer. Well, they're finding the hard way that that's not the case. But graphic design is changing because we have to adapt now to that technology. So this last section is a chance for you to think about your life now in the artificial intelligence world that we live in, and how it's affecting you as a student, your potential career, or the careers of people that you know. Because all of us, whether you think so or not, are going to be affected in some cases dramatically by this revolution of artificial intelligence. Maybe that's why I like to write so much, is that I don't want to think so hard about it, because it's a difficult problem that we're facing and a challenge. And so I hope that you get this chance to reflect upon this now, because we all carry these supercomputers with us that contain more knowledge and have access to more knowledge than the world has ever even dreamed of 100 years ago. And as graphic design, which is only 100 years old, is now facing a leapfrog of change. Massive, massive change. And how design is going to use that technology, just like the guys in the Bauhaus did. You guys remember when we talked about the Bauhaus, it was all about technology in many respects. The industrial age was kicking into gear, mass production of goods and so forth. And graphic design came from that, the adoption and the embracing of technology. And those people who kick against that adoption today in the AI world are going to be left behind, just like the Luddites were in England and other places who refused to touch machines. So I hope you get a chance to reflect on this, and that it gives you a chance to think about what is the future of design and the future of your industry. Maybe you're an accounting major. Maybe you're an engineer. Or maybe you're going to be going into medicine. Medicine is going to be dramatically changed from AI. It already is over the next few, well, it is now. So I could go on all the different industries. But anyways, I wanted to thank you for at least listening to me on this, and I hope that this gives you a chance to think about your life and how it's going to be affected over the next 6 months or the next couple years. All right, thanks, guys. I've really enjoyed this class. I hope it's been a good experience for you and give you a broader perspective on what it is that we do as designers and the importance, and reflect upon how it still is such a huge part of our life. Thanks, guys.